Well, I'll start off this video with going over my fuel injector checks. I put a little bit of cleaner on each injector with it upside down. The nozzles were already clean as I showed you last time. I sealed off the return with a large rubber cap and a clamp, and I hooked up a rubber hose to a where is it at? Oh, there it is. To a blowgun, and just put the hose in the tip, which actually holds up to 50 pounds of pressure that way. And let me connect the hose, the compressor hose. And the weakest link in my connection here is that rubber cap. When I push down on this and pressurize the system with air, I have it pressurized up to 50. The running pressure, maximum pressure on this vehicle is 43 and 45. Just kind of strange that it's that low on a fuel injected system, but that's what it is, 43 to 45. So I've never seen a reading over that, and the fuel pump was replaced a few years ago, so I know the pressure is right. So when I pressurize it by pushing down on the thing, I get no bubbles on any of those there, and I hear the air hissing down here at the return. I don't know if you could see that. When I push it, the little rubber thing expands as the pressure leaks out. So with all that test going, I think the injectors seal just fine. I'd like to energize each one and see if they see if they all open, and if I do that, I'm going to clear all this liquid off of them, because I don't want to spray that into the air and atomize all that cleaner. My garage is attached to my house, and I don't want the smell to come in the house, even though nothing usually comes through the door. So you could still hear it leaking out of that right there, out of that right there. No bubbles on the injectors, so they must seal up real nice and tight, and they can handle the 50 pounds. Like I said, the running pressure is 40 to 45, so, or 43 to 45. So if it can handle 50 pounds, it should be alright. Now I know some of you will be like, well, hydraulic pressure and air pressure, most likely two different pressures, but so I said it's up to 50. My tank is set to 50 and not a bubble, and there's still a little bit of gasoline inside the system, and it didn't bubble. The level didn't change. I let this sit there for like an hour, hasn't moved. Each one is in the same place, and it don't look like it leaked through the O-rings either, which I was also hoping that it didn't. And then also I'll show you the cleaned up engine. I cleaned up the engine. And all the valves are not the valves, all the intake runners on the head are nice and clean now. Little bit of residue stains, carbon stains things, but they're looking good now. They weren't too dirty down near the valve itself, but right around the edges here, if you saw my first video, there was a little light layer of stuff. And my EGR port, I just cleaned that with a little teeny tiny brush. It doesn't go in very far. I just cleared it out a little with a brush. There wasn't much in there either, so you know, I change the oil regularly enough where the engine doesn't seem to carbon up. Plus I run not a deep cleansing rinse agent through the engine, but something light, just an extra detergent I add every now and then, a couple 100 miles before the oil change. I don't run it through the whole cycle of the oil, but just, you know, close to the oil change, if I feel like adding a little detergent, a little extra detergent to the oil, I do so. As you can see, that's nice and clean now. Hopefully I got a little brush I could clean the runners on the intake manifold itself. There's a little bit of carbon in there because of where they position the EGR valve on the top, up here, right here on the top. Here's where the throttle body goes, or not the throttle body, but the throttle plate, and various sensors for that. And then the EGR tube goes right here in this hole, and exhaust gases go back through the manifold there. It's probably why it was dirty. I don't like that design myself. I think that there should have been something else where, especially with a plastic manifold, where the exhaust gases should come out practically right near the valve. Of course, that'll coke up with carbon that way too. I happen to think that, and I know that some manufacturers did this, they need to abandon the EGR system altogether. You don't need exhaust gas recirculation with the computer systems you have now. I've heard of some cars. I had a Ford car. I'm not going to name the exact model and engine type, just so that way I don't get in trouble with anybody, but it did not have an EGR system on it. Looked like from the factory. There was no, the manifold was a factory manifold. It did not have an EGR exhaust tube or inlet to the intake. It wasn't there, and as far as I know, that's the way it was built. And there's another car that we own that doesn't have that EGR system. It's a 2007. The Ford that I had was an early 90s model, and I'm not going to get real specific just so that way I don't get in trouble. If you happen to know what car I'm talking about and you've had one yourself, that's fine. But I don't want the trouble from anybody who will be like, oh, well, I'm a Ford guy and I know that they never cut that system out. I don't want to hear any of that. You know, I've seen different things on different models in different years, and like I'm saying, in recent years I think they have found ways to remove the EGR system and meet the EPA and federal guidelines for emissions, which is why they add all that crap in the first place instead of doing it the right way. We all know what the right way is. We're not going to get into that either. This is about testing my injection system and cleaning and going over my intake where I thought I had I think that I did have an intake leak. When I looked at this gasket, it was kinked in a couple of places. So when I put it on, I was in so much of a hurry, I didn't clean it like I did like I'm doing this time, that it probably kinked, and it probably had a teeny tiny leak, undetectable by the computer in some respects and undetectable by me in some respects, and it just added more fuel, you know, to the injection time, you know, and ran. You know, these computers will tune themselves to a certain degree to where they'll run just fine, and you'll never be the wiser unless you keep track of your fuel mileage like I do, and I do keep track of my fuel mileage, and it was way to hell down. So I think that the leak was definite, and I'll have to stop there because this is 10 minutes.